Mini? Yeah, Mini. Nice. Super cute.
He's just part of my personality now.
Yeah.
Let's get
Definitely
him in there.
Love the eyes. Love the eyes.
You're pretty, aren't you? He's a pretty boy.
Well, we're live right now, so
Hey,
I always love those opens like that. You know, you just go live and see what happens.
See whatever happens.
Middle of the sentence, yeah, for sure.
So the reason why, I mean, Brian on Wednesday, he put out his rankings for who he thinks, basically how he's ranking people coming out of semifinals. And he was just curious what other people thought. And I was like, man, let's just do a show about it and bring some people on and give their thoughts. And I figured bring in an analyst like Amanda, who is well informed in the sport of CrossFit. She actually has her own YouTube channel where she talks about the goings on in CrossFit. And, she's always there at the semifinals, at the games when she can make them. And of course, just like any, any analyst desk or whatever, you always want to have an athlete there. And I figured, reached out to Nick, and Nick's like, yeah, put that analyst cap on. So
appreciate it. It's like that. I'm like Michael Strahan then, right? Is that what this
is? But better looking.
Oh yeah,
right. Definitely, exactly. So have you guys had a chance to look at Brian's list at all, or?
I have.
I did peek at it, yes.
Yeah, I figure Amanda would. I mean, that's just a reporter in her.
Yes.
And then you have Nick. So, we'll just jump right into it unless you guys have any, anything else you want to talk about.
Nope. Let's take a look.
Good to go.
So with this list, Brian, this was before. We still don't know how many spots are allocated for each semifinal. CrossFit did say they would put it out today. They have yet to make that announcement, but based on what Boz said on the Spin podcast the other day, is that they're actually using athletes who are only competing individual for the season. So, if for instance, if you're Cara Saunders and you did the individual open and individual quarterfinal workouts, they're going to remove her from those rankings. So it's only people that are competing as individuals, and we'll move on to the next stage. Your thoughts on that, Nick, as an athlete?
I don't know if I have really. We were talking about this. Me and the girlfriend were talking about this last night, and I don't know if I really have too many opinions on it. I guess I'm not so well informed of like what would be the scenario either way if we took everybody in.
Yeah.
I do think it makes sense for the example, like you say, with Cara Saunders. Like if she's not competing in D, then definitely taking it out. But and I guess there's a different scenario maybe in the realm of me where I was going to compete. Would I still qualify with it or not? But yeah, so I'm not sure either way too much.
Amanda, do you have an opinion on that?
Yeah, I was wondering if athletes like Nick, like Paige, were going to be taken out of it as well. But because you guys fell down the leaderboard, it wouldn't have mattered as much compared to athletes like if Cara had done it and finished third. Then that would have more impact than somebody who was penalized and moved farther down. I don't think we have a lot of examples of athletes who were on teams who did the individual quarterfinals. Do we?
Well, I know in past years. Well, I think Matilda Garnis.
That's the only person I could think, and she was penalized too.
Did Chandler?
And Chandler, yes, correct. Let me see. I think
Noah would be someone who could impact the leaderboard, but I don't believe he did the individual quarterfinals.
I don't believe he did these either. Mike Halpin at Known and Knowable, after hearing this, kind of came out with his predictions, kind of his model where he thinks it might, and it actually does. It actually does affect some of these regions. For instance, in the men top 100. So what they do is they base it off the top 100. How many people are represented in the top 100? In his scenario here, Asia men would actually. Oh, let's go. I think it's. Let me find it. Oh, the allocation. The Asian men, actually, let's talk about the Oceania. Oceania would get 4 spots, which is one more than their 3 they typically get. South America would get 3, which is one more than they normally get. And it looks like North America West, Nick, your region, and Europe would be where those spots would come from.
Yeah.
Based on the top 100, removing, for instance, I believe they would remove your score and then you use the top 100 from the quarterfinals. So that's why those extra spots would be shored up. On the women's side, Asia would have 3 spots. South America would get 3. Oceania would get 4, with North America West and even the East and Europe being where those spots come from. So,
Well, it's interesting. Interesting to have 3 out of Asia. I feel like the Asia women tend to be a little bit less competitive compared to some of the women you might see in North America West. Like the 3rd woman from Asia might not be as good as the 3rd woman from the 9th woman from North America West.
Well, I mean, if you look at this version right here, they had 8 women from Asia that finished in the top 100, and North America West had 19. So they, I guess in comparison, it's almost double.
More than double.
Yeah, more than double amount of women. But Asia did benefit from having a couple women that I guess they would normally compete in Europe or a different region, but they were able to get into the Asia region because they lived in that area for over 2 years, or they hit those marks. So, but that's where we're at with that. So we don't know the spots. So what Brian did is he kind of just predicted, and with most of the regions outside of maybe South America and some of these other regions, he didn't rank the whole field, so he didn't rank all 40 athletes. But the fields that he did know, like Europe, North America West, East, he did rank all 40 people based on that. So we're not going to go through all 40 names, obviously, but I do want to get your opinions on some of his selections, and then and basically just, let's discuss some of the stuff that he's saying here. And so let me pull that up.
Let's do it.
Definitely.
So this article is up on the B.Friendly Fitness page. If you go to our Instagram, I've created a graphic that just shows like the top 5. Again, we don't know how many spots are allocated, but let's start with week 1. Let's start with Europe. French Throwdown, week 1. He has Lazar winning on the men's side. Yonakoski, who won the open overall and quarterfinals overall, finishing center. Followed by Henrik Apalainen, EKG, Jelle Hosta, Anil Ikai, Moritz Feibig, Uldis Upenix, and Luka Dukic and Victor Hoffer, rounding out the top 10. And then after that, he has some games veterans and some newcomers in the top 20. What do you guys' first initial reactions? Lazar, is that the guy you think is that the top dog out in Europe, or do you think someone else has earned that distinction, knowing the workouts as well?
You can go first. Yeah, he won last year, so I feel like that's a fair assessment. But Yonakoski has looked really good this season, and maybe recency bias could make you want to put him at the top. He's been at the CrossFit Games for a really long time, has a lot of experience. Maybe this can be the year that he takes it back from Lazar. I think there's definitely a possibility there, and I think there'll be a battle for that first place position between him and Lazar.
Yeah, Nick.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. What are you guys' thoughts on BKG? I mean, he's still relevant every single year. He's still in it every single year. They're going back to kind of Dave programming.
That's true.
Kind of, you know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't sleep on BK.
Yeah, I was surprised to see him. I mean, 4th isn't that far down, but no. I feel like you think about him a lot when you think about Europe, because he's been so relevant in Europe for a decade, maybe. I don't know. Has it been a decade now? So it would be interesting with the programming, like you said, going back to having Dave having a heavy hand in it. I think if Dave has his hands in anything, it's a heavy hand. So if Dave's involved, I think that could bode well for BKG.
Yeah, right.
Well, I like you guys brought up some really good points regarding BKG and Yonakoski. obviously Brian has Koski here at 2. I think he's actually going to be, my personal opinion is I think he's just going to carry that momentum on. It's going to be a close racing year between Lazar, Yona, Henrik, and BKG. And it's just funny because Koski's 2 training partners are actually Henrik Haapalainen and BKG. Koski made the change to the training plan with Jami Tikkanen, and he's actually been spending a lot of time in Iceland training with BKG. They actually just put out a YouTube video where those 2 are, just doing sprints. And when he's back in Finland, his training partner is Henrik Haapalainen. So it'll be really interesting to see how those. It looks like they've all leveled up. And BKG the last couple of years, whether it was programming or injuries, he's still a contender. And I think all indication is, and Nick, you got to compete with him over at FitFest, correct?
Over at the FitFest, yeah. Yep.
Yeah,
it was awesome getting over there.
He seemed like he was pretty healthy and in good spirits and in good shape. I mean, that was in December, and it appears to be that way now. I mean, have you seen anything that contradicts that?
Yeah, I mean, nothing from out there. Yeah.
Nick, how do you feel about training with people that you're actively competing against? I know we've seen a lot of, female male pairs because they're not actually competing against those people for spots.
For sure. So you're talking like the camps and stuff that people have?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think you can get wrapped up with like competing with people every single day, and I think that really can be a detriment. I see that as much as even in my own affiliate here at the gym. You know what I mean? Like on a much less fit level, like you get people in the gym, and like to an extent, it's good to have the competition. But if we're going out for a 5K run and you're just trying to compete with the next person, and you're not trying to abide by your own paces and this, that, and the other thing, a lot of other things can impact that. Like, I mean, just burnout or injury or things like that too. So, personally, what I've done is I work with Proven, obviously, and I go down there periodically throughout the year as like a little tune-up weekend. Me personally, I would not be able to handle a training camp aspect every single day, doing that every single day. I'm pretty good at separating the competitive aspect and like running my own race in terms of that. But yeah, I go through there periodically just to get a little tune-up, get my butt kicked for a weekend, and then take what I learned and go back and train. So I think I'm probably more in favor of like a guy-girl pair as opposed to a camp.
The Tia Matt Fraser model, huh?
Right, and it also depends on the people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you get people that you can like drop the ego and you guys can focus on your own race and loosen up a little bit, not be so stressed out all the time kind of deal, like then it could probably work. But yeah, I think it really just depends on the people.
Yeah, we're going to put a pin on that when we switch over to the women's side, because I think there's a case where you have 2 high-level competitors that train together daily. So, and I think they might have cracked the code in that. And right. I think, so we'll talk about that when we jump over to the women's side. But let's kind of look at the men. I think what really kind of sticks out here is Brian has 2, which would be, I guess, games rookies or 2 young athletes that are looking to make their debut at the games in Anil Kai and Victor Hoffer. Nick, you were able to, I guess, meet Victor as last year when he was part of the demo team. I mean, you got to see his. Obviously, you've probably heard the hype. We've all heard the hype around him. What can you tell us from what you saw of your little what little you saw of him at the games?
Yeah, I mean, we didn't really talk too much with like demo team and all that stuff when we were at the games. I mean, obviously the guy's amazing at gymnastics. He's amazing at that stuff. He competed at Rogue as well.
Yeah.
So I think if I was to be a critique of whatever all good. I mean, I wouldn't want to say anything bad about anybody, but the strength numbers, right? Yeah. I mean, if you have that exceptional in gymnastics, like the strength's gotta, like if that's going to be the weakness, that's what's got to come up a little bit.
Yeah.
But then again, this is also CrossFit too, and strength event is just one event.
Yeah. So, Amanda?
Yeah, I was going to say, I almost forget Victor Hoffer hasn't been at the games yet because he was around the games so much last year. It just felt like he was there and he was seen at semifinals. I'd be happy to see him make it into the field. I think that he's he has those things that he could hit out of the park and make some noise at the CrossFit Games. So I think it'd be pretty cool to see him make it up there. How many men made it out of this field last year? Remember the number?
I believe it was around 12. Let me confirm that, but I believe it was over 10 because I think Michael Wazlowski or Braun was the last person in, but I can confirm that. But go ahead with your thought though, while I look that up.
Well, I I think if it is 11 or 12, he has a really good chance of making it in. If it's 10, 9, that's where things are going to get a little bit more dicey for Victor Hoffer. So we'll have to see once those numbers finally come out how many men will be getting out of the Europe fields.
Yeah, I think I agree that the bubble athlete spot might be a little bit more. It's going to be competitive for like those bottom like 4 or 5 spots. I think the top people will solidify the first, second, third, fourth, but then it's going to be a grind for the rest.
Yeah, on the men's side, out of Europe, there was. Sorry, 1 second. Men. Sorry, I'm usually producing, so I'm usually pulling this up. It actually went 11 spots. Fabian Benito was the finals person in, followed by Colin Bossard and Victor Hoffer. So they were 12 and 13. They were about Colin Bossard was 16 points out of qualifying spot, and Victor was 19 points.
Is Fabian not on this list?
Let's move down to the part of the list. So again, before we move on, we do have his teammate Aniel Ikai, who has yet to make the games. They're both part of that training culture camp out of Spain. Brian has Aniel kind of leapfrogging Fabian in this case.
Quite a bit.
Yeah, Aniel and Victor have been really busy this offseason. Like Nick was talking about, Victor obviously did Rogue and held his own. I mean, he had his like I said, especially when it came to the handstand gymnastics type events, he did very well with. Not so well in some of the strength numbers, but what we've seen in the quarterfinals and what we know of the programming for semifinals is that we're not really testing strength, more capacity with some of the heavier weights as opposed to just raw strength. But someone like Annual, I think Brian likes what he's seen. Brian's seen a lot of them, so he obviously has him finishing pretty high there at 6th. And then also Luka Jukic, who made the games, I believe, in 2021, and is kind of been kind of trying to make his way back. He has him kind of breaking through and finishing 9th as well.
Yeah, it's gonna be a tough little battle for those spots. Yeah, there's Fabian.
Yeah,
I knew he was on the list.
And Alex Catulus.
Couldn't see him.
Yeah, so like you referred. Yeah, so like there's a lot of names there. Some games veterans, some well-known names.
Yep.
That are Enrico Zinoni, who was a rookie, I believe, the same year that you went, right, Nick? Your first year.
I think we were. Yeah, I think
2022. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of names right down there in like 15 to 20 as well. That like, given a good weekend, any of those guys can bump right up in there.
Europe's just a very competitive region.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's what I was trying to get at the beginning of the podcast here was that typically with the old format you would probably have an extra spot here, but I think one of these spots might be sacrificed to another region because of these this new system or new way to allocate spots. So typically, like I said, last year they had how many spots did I say they went down to? They gave out
11, I believe.
Yeah, 11, and right now the model's predicting around 10. So we're dealing with one less spot here, and there's a lot of talented athletes here, like Nick and you referred to that they're that those spots. I'm thinking like 7 through 18 are going to be very, very competitive, and we're talking almost 9 athletes competing for maybe 2 or 3 spots.
I think the cut line will probably be more exciting than the top of this leaderboard.
Agreed.
Yeah, I definitely would agree with that. Is there any name here that you think will be in that top 10 that Brian has here in the 10 through 22?
I mean, I could say probably like three of the guys at least that could break into it for sure. And they're also ones that have been to the games before. Like even Enrico, like he's been to the games.
Mm-hmm.
Enrico, another one that's really good with gymnastics as well, really good capacity. Maybe not top end strength, but it doesn't look like we're testing for top end strength anymore.
Yeah,
which is okay.
Or at least not this year.
At least not this year. It's okay too.
Amanda?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's a lot of people that, I mean, we've seen it's the 40 field this year versus 60 that we saw last year. So you can't really have an event where you bomb something. But if one person does, it can really change up the leaderboard. And that could be anyone. Like we've seen other athletes that you expect to make it and have one poor event, one poor finish, and bringing the field back to 40 from 60. It's going to, if you have one bad finish, it's going to make a big difference.
Yeah, more of a difference than last year did.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that example you're kind of alluding to, that I guess the best case example would be someone like Guy Mihalers.
Yes.
Guy,
Same thing happened this year.
down in South America. He had one bad event and it cost him a game spot.
Events. He won multiple of the semifinal events last year. It just wasn't enough to make up the difference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The name that I'm really interested about, and I think might crack in that top 10, there's actually two of them, is Colin Bossard and Nika Maserati. Those are both two relatively young. Colin's from Switzerland. Nika's from Georgia, the country, not the state. But Nika is a guy that Brian got eyes on. I know, I'm surprised he doesn't have a little bit higher, but I think it's because he hasn't seen enough of him. But this guy's really good at gymnastics, really good on machines. It'll be interesting to see how well he does in this type of format. And then Colin Bossard, I think I kind of
last year, right?
Yeah, Colin was just short last year. So, and Colin kind of reminds me of an athlete that's very similar to Colton Mertens, where you just never give up on. He's an athlete that's kind of on the smaller sides compared to the rest of the field, but yet he has his capacity and his ability to do some of the things that some of these other athletes. I think Brian probably has him rated. I think he would have him higher if some of the workouts were more in his favor. So, and then I think he has Braun at 11. So it's really interesting to see what Braun does in some of those workouts, particularly the ladder, the squat clean ladder. So it'll be really cool. Yeah.
It's interesting to see Yellow Hoste just having such a firm position in there, being so new in the space.
Correct.
But I
guess and maybe you can talk on this. I mean, like when you finally break through to the games, is there just like kind of a level of confidence that kind of helps you like the following season?
Yes, for sure. And I've noticed that just like competing just more often at bigger competitions, the confidence, I remember my first day getting out there and in regionals in 2018, and I was like corralled next to Scott Panchik. I was like, oh man, he's going to destroy me in this workout. And it was like a little bit of that starstruck feeling, you know what I mean? Because I've been watching him the whole time I've been doing CrossFit. So once you get like to these higher level competitions, you definitely accumulate confidence for sure.
So let's move on to the women's side. Kind of what we alluded to before. We're talking about training partners. Well, Brian has Laura Horvath as number one. I think we could probably pretty much agree that that's who we would probably expect to win out of the semifinal out in Europe, followed by her training partner and really close friend Gabby Magala.
Gabby beat her everything so far this year, though, correct?
She has, and she won the semifinal last year.
Yeah. So I don't know. It feels like Gabby doesn't get some of the respect she may deserve. I feel like she's a little bit overshadowed from competing or training with Laura all the time.
Yeah. Well, I think Gabby actually prefers that.
She might. I mean, it's, easy to come, not easy, but there's something about coming from behind, having a little bit of a chip on your shoulder that for some people really helps them. They like being the dark horse.
Yeah. I mean, do you I mean, do either of you see there being a close race between the two out in the French showdown, or is this Laura pretty much running away with this?
I think the events may favor Laura a little bit.
Nick?
So maybe it's fair.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I mean, she won it. We said we won it. She won it last year, Gabby.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I mean, Laura winning this, and then, I mean, they go back and forth pretty often. I mean, the training partners. I mean, it really depends on who has the best weekend, probably. I mean, who's feeling good, who like things are just clicking, no mistakes made on the floor. I feel like they're going to be hard on no reps this year too. So just making sure that you're getting everything done the proper way.
Yeah. Well, I think Brian probably has it right here as well. Number 3 has Karen Freyova, which is weird because Karen right now is actually competing in the Athens Throwdown a week, less than a week ahead of this semifinal. But that's kind of par for the course for someone like Karen Freyova. She likes volume. She loves competing, and plus the prize purse for Athens Throwdown, if she wins it, which she probably will, is 8,000 euros. So that it's nice. It's kind of hard to say no to that.
For sure.
Yeah, she's always doing a lot of competitions at Dubai most years. So she might be ready for this. This might be what she does.
Yeah.
Competes before she competes.
Yeah, and I think she's pretty much like cemented herself, especially with Annie taking the year off, and some of the other European athletes taking the year off as probably the 3rd best athlete in Europe. So I have no problem with her being in this spot. And then she's followed by some athletes who are kind of just some question marks: Emma Tall, Emma McQuaid, Elisa Fuliano, in 6 spots. Emma, had some injuries last year. Emma Tall has dealt with injuries in the past. I don't see anything wrong with those 3 being in those positions. They should be comfortably in those spots, and probably going to the games.
Yep.
After
Again, that bubble line again.
Yeah.
Like who's going to squeak through?
Jacqueline Dahlstrom. It's interesting to see if she'll make it back after last year and her lane issues over with
lane 8.
Workouts. Lane 8. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see how she took the year off from the games and how her mental outlook is after that.
Yeah, the only rookie Brian has that is currently in a qualifying spot based on the projections is Claudia Gluck. She's from Italy, I believe, or no, she's from France, and this would be her first appearance. But she's kind of made that European circuit as well. It was very impressive at Dubai, where she finished 3rd in a program that typically favors the bigger athletes, stronger athletes, and she's kind of on the smaller side, but has her kind of breaking through.
Yeah,
I don't know much about Claudia.
I definitely think that's possible. I do remember seeing her compete, so I think that 7th seems a little bit high, but we'll see. It's interesting to look farther down too. We got Sarah Sigmund's daughter there. 10th, I believe, would be a qualifying position.
Yep.
We'll see. Sarah's been fighting to get back for a while. Feels like for a really long time. There was a time Sarah was looked at as the next daughter, right? Like after Annie and Katrin, that Sarah was going to be the next one to win the games. And just we never really saw that come to fruition. And now she's had injuries, been battling back, hasn't made the games for several years. So it would be quite the story to have her finally make it back to the games.
For sure. She seems like she's like hungry with it too. Like being out for so many times, having so many injuries, like she still has that chip on her shoulder that she's like, I'm coming back. I'm coming back. I'm coming back. And she never gave up, never quit so far. So
yeah.
And what, she was 1 rope climb away last year?
Yep. Yeah.
1 rope climb.
It's now field. Europe is a tight field.
Yeah.
A lot of athletes.
Well, and then right after that, you got Turi, you got Jennifer Muir, Amy Kringle, other girls that have been hitting the door, banging on the door for a while now. And yeah.
I really do like Sarah. I love how these workouts work out. Sarah's quietly had a really good season so far in the Open and quarterfinals. And this will be basically a full year of being under the tutelage of Justin Kotler, who will be there helping her out. And I think Kotler is probably the perfect coach for someone like Sarah, where he can help her out in so many aspects, especially on the mental side, kind of give her someone to kind of, when she's down, he'll get her pumped up. I really like that. I think this will be a great comeback if she can. And I think this CrossFit will definitely drop the ball if they do not feature her, if she is in that, like, I don't know, in that qualifying fighting spot, because I think if she makes the games again, it brings back a lot more fans. It brings a lot more compelling storylines. And I think she's one of those people that's made for the camera as well, and she's an ambassador of the sport. I hope that it does end up being that way, and I think it will be. And I really like where Brian has her in the spot. Who knows, she might even be a little higher. But like what you both again referred to is, like, it's going to be a tight fight. I mean, probably like 6 or 7 women fighting for those last couple spots. So it should be pretty interesting. But I really don't see anything really kind of sticking out for me in terms of any other athletes outside that what possibly would be the cut line. I think Amy Kringle might surprise, and same with Andrea Solberg.
Yeah, I think both of those are definitely people who could be in the mix. I do think that would be pretty cool to see Thury make it back to the games. I don't know if she will. I feel like she's sort of has just gotten outsized. Like, a lot of the athletes that are making it are just bigger than Thury. She's been to the games quite a few times and was sort of a mainstay for a while there. She was like the other daughter, the less talked about daughter. And in the last couple of years, just hasn't made it back to the games.
Almost like a stepdaughter.
Exactly. She was the stepdaughter.
I'm sorry. Dad jokes.
But 12,
They work.
That's striking distance for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Someone wanted to point
out not fit either.
Oh, yeah.
We saw Jennifer out in Fit Fest as well, and she's pretty fit herself. So
yes, she was someone that was in a spot going into the last day last year. Yep. I mean, a lot of those workouts play. She's actually a former distance runner, so I think she will do really well. I don't think the bar cycling would be too big of a deal, but I do think 13th is a good spot for her. But I think when it comes down to, if the pressure's on if there's pressure and it comes down to it, I'm going to go with someone that has been under that pressure over her, and that's why I think Brian probably has someone like Sarah, Rebecca Vidison, Thury Helgoddard kind of beating her in those type of workouts, because they've been there. They've done that where Jennifer kind of hasn't done that yet.
For sure.
What about Miriam Von Rohr?
Yeah, so I've been a big Miriam proponent all season, because everyone's like, oh, she's a High Rocks athlete, and I just think she's just an athlete.
I think she started in CrossFit too.
Correct.
Prior to High Rocks. Yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of people think because she's a High Rocks athlete that she's a great runner. Actually, of all the things in High Rocks, that's probably one of the worst things she's at. And I'm not saying that she's bad at running, but she's better at other things. And that means, she's probably the best wall ball athlete. Maybe her and Ellie Turner might be the best female wall ball athlete. When it comes to wall balls or squatting movements, she's probably one of the best in the world. And she showed that in the quarterfinals and in the open. Body weight stuff, she was, I really want to see what her gymnastics is like. Can she handstand walk? And if she can, how, and just see how she does in some of these higher weight events. But
because there's so many question marks, I feel like it's a little bit difficult to place where she'll end up.
Yeah. And I think so. And I think Brian has her in a good spot here at 20, but I can definitely see her contending for maybe that final game spot as well. But that kind of wraps up Europe. I mean, again, it's going to be tough in Europe. I mean, we're looking at possibly 10 spots in each field, and you're going to have a lot of games veterans that are on the outside looking in at the end of the day. So,
yep.
But like I said, Brian actually goes all the way down he ranks all 40. If you look here, Lucy McGonigal, who I think she was at Fit Fest as well, correct, Nick?
Yep, teammates.
Yeah. So he has her. I mean, she still has a year, I believe, left in the team division. So she's actually competing probably this weekend for the age group qualifiers.
Yep.
He has her at 24th. She might be the fittest teenager in the world right now. Berger's Bjornestadter, she's someone that was down at Wadapalooza, was very impressive in the weightlifting event, the squat snatch, I believe, and the overhead squat event. She did really well in that. He has her at 28th. And yeah, so take a look at the list. But yeah, we'll move on. We won't go over teams. We won't go over the teams. But Brian also has he ranks the top 20 teams.
Yeah, I'd be lost there.
What's that?
I'd be lost there. I don't know any of that.
Yeah. So let's go also week one. This is where I'll be week one next week. I leave for Korea, so I'll be in Korea next week. Yep, 2 days in Korea, then come back and go straight to LA. So it's gonna be a busy days of travel. So Brian will be in France. I'll be in Korea. We'll both be in LA the following week.
Awesome.
Look at Party's Throwdown. Some familiar names at the top, especially on the men's side. Arthur Simonov. This is a guy who hasn't really shown what he can do at the games level. His first year there, he was suffering through an injury. I believe that was his rookie year, the same year as yours in 2022. Nick, what can you tell us about Arthur? If any interactions with him?
Not too much, no. Unfortunately, sorry,
Yeah.
I don't got much further on that one.
That's all right. It's fine. And then Ivan Kirkartsev. Now, a lot of people don't. I mean, I know who he is. I just can't pronounce his name. But he's a lot of people. What he does have games experience. He is part of that Kalishnikov team out of Russia.
Okay.
He competed 2 years ago on that Kalishnikov team. Last year he was hurt, and a lot of people, from what I've heard, and this is coming out of the underdogs camp, he is coached by. He's an underdogs athlete, and they say that he's probably the best Russian athlete in this field. Some would say better than Arthur, but Brian has him getting that second spot based on his experience. He competed at Madrid and finished 7th, so he does have individual competition experience as well. And then Morteza is the guy who actually had the number 2 spot last year. Would have went to the games, but due to his travel issues, he's based in Iran. He was not allowed to attend the games last year.
Gotcha.
Wonder if he has that figured out if he makes it in this year.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know, but I would say state of the world right now, and
Probably not.
Probably be very difficult. I mean, it took Roman a couple years to get hit.
Roman, that was a long time of seeing if Roman was what we thought he could be. And I mean, I'd say he is, I would say, but it took him a while to actually make it over here and make some noise at the games. But I do like the underdog camp, and I feel like we've seen a lot of good athletes come out of there. I'm interested to see what Ivan can do.
Yeah, so I really think it's a 3-person race here for the two spots that they'll have. If they might end up with 3 spots right now, projections are they might end up with 3 spots. So if that's the case, then if Marteza can't get his visa issues taken care of, you might see Ant Haynes or someone else out of that region making their games debut. And me personally, I'm rooting for Ant Haynes. It's just because I'm a big Ant Haynes fan. He's a great ambassador, not only for the sport but also for China CrossFit in China.
Yeah, good to see him at the games.
Yeah. On the women's side, Sung Young Choi, I think, is the story here in terms of she makes her return. She took the year off last year due to a shoulder injury. I don't think she had that fixed in terms of like surgery or anything like that. I think she just did a lot of rehab. But from early indications from the season so far, the Open and the quarterfinals, she looks healthy to me. And I think it'll end up being a 2-person race between her and Saher.
I agree. They have 1 spot for Asia, we're thinking?
They have 2.
2. Okay. Well, then, yeah, I think those are definitely likely to be your 2 qualifiers out of this region.
Yeah. And I do, and I'm a big defender of Asia. That's one reason why I'm going over there. is that some of these lesser regions or smaller regions, they don't feel like they do well at the games. Sahar and Sung Young Choi have actually they've dismissed that. I mean, Sahar finished 23rd last year. Sung Young Choi finished 26th the year prior. So these are athletes that, I mean, Sahara has quite a few top 10 finishes at the games. She trains out of Norway. She's coached by Kristen Holta and Kristen Holta's coach. She trains with Olda Oslo athletes. So, she's a high level.
She did well. She did well last year.
Yeah, she finished 8th in the Open overall this year.
Yep, I did see that.
And Choi, we know she's a very strong athlete. Hopefully, she struggles at gymnastics, so it'll be interesting to see how she does on the handstand walking.
Yep.
One of the, I believe it was 2022, she couldn't make it first. I believe that was the year they had a ramp, or was that 2021? It might have been 2021 that there was the ramp and she couldn't make it past the ramp, the first part. So hopefully she has that figured out. Nick, when you have like a weakness like that and you see that kind of programmed into the semifinals, what can you do? What goes through your mind?
I mean, a lot of things can go through your mind. I mean, there can be it's how you navigate through, like, if you do see a weakness pop up, you can either, like, in your head immediately start talking to yourself like, that is my weakness, I am going to get beat by that. And I've talked myself out of taking top 5 at Granite Games twice, missing it by 1 point twice just for that same thing. One year it was chest to bars and power snatches. I told myself right when it came out that I wasn't good at grip endurance or barbell cycling, and chest to bars were my weakness. And what happened? I could have performed better in that workout, but because I had already talked myself out of it, I did not, or overpaced it, or just thought of it a wrong way. Yeah, it's how you navigate your mind and getting away from those negative thoughts and being like, hey, I've trained it, I've worked on it. It is what it is. We're going to give it our 100%.
Yeah.
Yep.
Definitely has to weigh in there, and hopefully for some of these athletes, if Asia does indeed get 3 spots, Anastasia Danova, she's me and Brian have talked about this, where Russia's kind of like a sleeping giant when it comes to athletes. It's just a matter of they don't compete at the game during the game season or at that highest level. They do a lot of local stuff. They do a lot of stuff in Europe, but Anastasia has seemed to kind of separate herself from that group. And then Evie Hollis is someone that I was referring to that has moved regions. She's been living in Dubai or Abu Dhabi area for like over 7 years, and she finally got the exception, so that way she can compete in Asia. So she's someone to keep an eye on. She's normally one of the top 50 fittest women in Europe, so she brings that fitness and those credentials here to Asia. So again, I think Sahar, Sung Choi, you can't go wrong with those two in those 2 spots. But I think after that, you have Dadanova, Hollis, and Daewon Jung, who just barely missed it last year, fighting for that what could possibly be the last spot. So,
for sure.
Then we go on to week 2, and we'll start off with something, West Coast Classic, North America West, week 2. These are names that you're familiar with, Nick, obviously. When what jumps out at you initially, looking at the men's list?
Oh, I see. Brandon Luckett jumps out.
Yep.
He's been out of the individual space for a couple of years, and the dude's fit. I've seen him train up here in Minnesota. He's come up to train with Andrea at times that I've seen. Always hear a lot of good things about him. I go down and train at CrossFit Trivium with I've seen Alexis Johnson down there, and I know people that talk to her, and they were on a team with him this last year. So nothing but good things I've heard from him. He's probably the biggest one in the top 10 that is kind of bumping in there without having the individual experience from like last year or the year prior.
Yeah. To note before you go, Amanda, is the last year the men were allocated 9 spots, and this year we're predicting 9 spots again. So just keeping that in mind.
If it's 9 spots based on Brian's rankings here, it would be Cole Sager missing the games. I think Cole Sager is someone who usually manages to do what he needs to do. So if he's right there, I feel like he'll throw a Hail Mary and get into that field. So we'll see about that. Zach Bunden, I actually know him. I worked out with him in Tulsa when I used to live in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I went to the same gym as him. He's super strong. He's made the games before back the year that he qualified directly out of the Open. So it'll be interesting to see him competing at semifinals and if he can be competitive. Sam Dancer, I don't think he's going to get into the field of individuals, but it'll be cool to see him back on the individual field. I think he's more focused on masters now for sure.
Hey Nick, well, both of you, what do you think of Brian picking Patrick Vellner's repeating as the champion out west, or do you think someone like Justin comes back and claims that spot? Because some people have predicted this is a comeback year for Justin, or someone even like Fikowski, based on the programming, kind of maybe winning this event.
I think there's a good spot, Vellner being number 1. I would almost put Fikowski number 2, and then Medeiros maybe 3 or 4 with Quant.
I agree.
Yeah, there's a little bit. No knock on anybody, obviously, never talking bad, but that's kind of what I would put 1, 2, and 3.
Nick, you're talking so much shit right now. It's so
I know,
hard.
right? It's terrible.
So much shit.
I'll also say, since we're here, I'd say that Cole Sager will make it in versus Will Leahy.
Okay. And what are you basing that off of?
Cole Sager, I mean, he's just been consistent over however many years again that he's competed. He's like BKG as well.
Yep.
And Cole has, with the whole Bergeron team that he kind of comes from, it's all about their mindset. And every year, like even last year, the last workout, it was on the last workout that he had to get in. Again, we're going to traditional programming again, and he usually just, again, pulls it out of his hat and makes it in. So, whereas, again, the experience might be, instead of Will Leahy, being that Will Leahy's not as accustomed to that individual field.
Amanda?
Yeah, I'd bet on Cole Sager.
Yeah. I mean, if you watch any of that stuff from the regional days, that guy's always like, he's a fighter. Even last year, he was. If you were there last year, he was down in those. He was outside of the final heat, and he kind of battled himself back. You never kind of count Cole Sager out. But how long can you possibly live on that type of live that type of lifestyle? I mean,
we talked about it last year, and we made a joke that it's because that's why he has no hair. Living life on the edge.
He's been doing it for a long time, so I don't know, 10 years.
And again, look at the last event as well this year too. It's a 30 cal sprint, 15 ring muscle ups, and lunge to the finish. If Cole is on the outside of that, he'll get those 30 cals done in less than 30 seconds and be on his way.
He knows what he has to do.
He knows what he has to do. He's not a stranger to that spot.
Yeah, Sarah brings up a good point. Sarah brings up a good point, and this kind of goes on what we were talking about earlier about training partners. It's true. Sprague and Cole have been training a lot together up in the Spokane area, as well as Catherine. Catherine's been kind of helping out as well, training with those three. So it looks like they have a very low stress, competitive training environment there. And I've been able to talk to James and saw James down in Jacksonville for the reps ahead, and James said this, and James looks impressive. He looks stronger. He has the right attitude, but I guess James always has that right attitude. But, he says that Cole has, having that mentorship of Cole and learning from someone like him is going to pay dividends for him this year.
I would also think with James coming from Brute before to now training with Cole, I would say James has a lot of knowledge. I feel like Brute does their camp very well. I feel like they train really smart. They've been producing really good athletes, so I think maybe James coming in to kind of mesh with Cole Sager, they might have kind of take knowledge from each other, which would elevate both their games a bit.
Nick, what can you tell us about your teammate, proven teammate Colton Merton? I mean, obviously, he's one of those guys that seems like he's always counted out, but the way Brian has this predicted is like Colton's going to be battling for that final spot again.
Yeah, the fellow Midwestern, Mr. Mertens. The dude's fit.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like the things that he's supposed to win, he wins, and the things that he's not supposed to win, he usually does very well in. You know what I mean? Like, there's a couple workouts that might not be in his favor. obviously, I mean, like the stroke climbs, having 14 of them in a workout over the course of the 7 rounds with not much of a separator on box jumps, I don't think, and biking. I don't think that's going to be too much. I think Mertens will make it in again. I think he'll make his, I think it's fourth year of the CrossFit Games, just because he has the experience and he already has kind of that mindset that he's going to go in and attack. And in his head, he's already making it to the games. This is just another stage.
Yep. I think we've made the mistake of leaving Colton Mertens out many times before, and he's shown us that he can make it into the field. So I think it's fair now that he's earned it to put him in a qualifying position. But I do think Brian is sleeping on Brent Bukowski, which is a funny person to sleep on.
Let's jump over the women's field. And Brian has some picks here. Obviously 1, 2. I mean, I think you can't go wrong with either Alex Gazan and Ariel Owen. I mean, is there one athlete you're going to prefer over the other based on the programming?
I'm going to keep backing Ariel Owen.
Yeah, I would say I'd put Ariel Owen ahead of Alex Gazan if I was making these rankings. I think Ariel has showed us just how fit she is. And I think last year at semifinals, she didn't go into it with the mindset of wanting to win the semifinals. And I think she probably could have done a little bit better if she was thinking more about trying to win the semifinals versus this being a step to get towards the games. And I think she saw last year that she had a chance of winning the semifinals and didn't. So maybe this year she's coming in a little bit hungrier to show that she can take home the gold at semis.
Agreed.
Takes us to number 3, and this is someone. Go ahead, Nick.
I was going to say, but I think it's going to be a battle.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Alex and Ariel, I think it's going to be a very big battle between those two.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a fun battle because they both, respect each other, are friends. They've been teammates on Waterpalooza teams. I think it's, you saw that last year when they were having those battles. I mean, you go back to the burpee box jump race they had where they were like neck and neck. And I think Alex won by 1 rep.
I think so.
But yeah.
They're both athletes who have grown so much in confidence, and I think are still growing in confidence.
Yeah, and those are 2 athletes that finished 3rd and 4th at the games this past year. So their fitness, no matter what you throw at them, it's they're going to be up there as one of the top athletes, especially when the games comes around. Well, this is the pick that I really like at number 3. And this is an athlete that, Amanda, you're familiar with. Nick, you've met her through Tier. I believe you guys actually got to spend like a weekend together shooting some promotional stuff up in New York City and New Jersey. But Devin Kim at number 3.
You do some digging and finding stuff out.
Well, I have some biases. I mean, I'm a friend with Devin. I know their family very well. Devin is, like I said, a future superstar. I wasn't thinking this would be the year. She was dealing with some stuff.
Back injury, right? This surprised me.
Yeah. And, there was that announcement that she was out of the team. She wasn't going to be on team, but then she made an announcement saying, see you in quarterfinals in 2 weeks. And she did really well in quarterfinals. And here we are, Brian has her at 3. And if Devin Kim is healthy, I love this pick because these workouts are tailor-made for her and her skill set.
This would be a great finish for her 3rd. I think this is her first real attempt at individuals.
Yeah.
Correct?
In the games, she did Dubai. Dubai, and she would have probably podiumed at Dubai if she missed the lift that she normally would hit. But again, she was dealing with a little bit of an injury. If she would have made that lift, and she probably would have podiumed in Dubai.
It could be a breakout year for Devin Kim. I mean, she competed as a teen, I believe, too, right? Like a teenager. Yep. And then as a team, she has a lot of experience. She's there are people who may not recognize her name, although I think they should, but there are people that may not. But she has a lot of experience despite not having a lot of experience on the individual side at the semifinals level. We've seen her a lot at the CrossFit Games for years. So I think that she's someone who can handle the pressure. If she's in 3rd, I think she can hold her own there. I'm just curious to see how her back holds up and how that's going to impact the weekend.
Nick, do you have like you said, your interactions with Devin? Were you able to train with her at all, or what do you know about Devin?
We didn't do much training when we were in New York. No, it was mostly just the shooting. We were only there a couple days, so not much on that side in terms of the training. I mean, but obviously, games champ team, right? So they have the experience. She has the experience competing. The injury is the outlier. You know what I mean? Yeah. Injured at Dubai. Injured. Can't make team this year because of injury, right? So that's always something to take note of, that's a reoccurring thing. I mean, always wishing the best, hoping nobody gets hurt and stuff like that. But there is this heavy snatch ladder. There is some front squats. If it is her back, I mean, it's going to take a little bit of a beating, depending on where they put the lunges, whether it's front rack or hanging or wherever.
They said hanging, farmers carry on.
Oh, they did say officially that it was hanging?
Yeah.
Okay. Never mind then.
Yeah.
I don't know. I would almost have probably Emily Rolfe up a little bit higher. Yeah.
That's a very popular name. I could definitely see that. I mean, Emily's a veteran. These workouts seem the weights aren't too heavy for her.
Yeah.
She'd do really well in those 800-meter runs, obviously. And again, those weights shouldn't be too big of an issue for her.
Yeah.
And then
it's not overly heavy.
No. Yeah. I mean, speaking of back injuries, Brian has Bethany at 6. There's someone who's always a question mark. You just never know. And, it seems like there's a lot of, there's some, maybe it's not heavy, but it might be heavy for someone like Bethany, especially if she's not training at that volume or that weight.
Yeah. But even with Bethany too, we've seen, like, what was it? West Coast Classic a few years back. She dominated, right?
Yes.
So, like, she has the potential. It's just not whether.
Is that the year she got COVID? That was
the year she got COVID.
That was a rough year.
Kari Pierce.
She looked great though.
So I mean, she has it in her. Yeah, but it's again, injuries on that side a little bit.
Injuries for sure. Yeah, holding her back.
Currently, the projections are eight spots out west. And there's going to be a couple names kind of left out of that. And again, another instance, we're going to have a battle for those last final game spots. Around that 8th spot, Brian has Bethany, Sydney Mikulishin, Danny Spiegel, Abigail Domit, Kelsey Keel, Kyra Milligan. Those are just some of the names that are right around that final spot. I mean, which woman of those that I named do you feel like are going to separate themselves and claim those final couple spots?
8 almost doesn't feel like enough looking at the names on this list. I think Kelsey Keel could potentially win the snatch event here. So I think she could have some events where she does really well. So she might be able to make it into that top 8. Abigail Domit was at the games last year. She was a rookie. I don't know. Maybe Nick could talk more about trying to get back after that rookie year. I imagine there's some pressure to repeat for that. Is that second one harder than the first one?
Well, the first way I got in was a little off. With the whole
mainstreams and automobiles for you. It was
the Phil Toon situation. So
in and out.
That one almost didn't feel real. Whereas the second one was like, wow, I like actually earned it. Like I made it in. Like that was kind of the feeling of it. But it seemed easier because I had already been at the games and had that confidence. So by day 2 of semifinals last year on the point spread, like all I had to do was not mess up an event, and I knew kind of that I was going to make it. So I mean, it depends. I mean, the mindset is such a huge one in terms of the competing aspect. Like if you're doubting yourself going in and you're doubting your training, you're doubting your prep and all that stuff, like that can take a huge toll on you. Whereas like you saying Kelsey Keel is getting in, like she's coming in to compete with Indy. Like she's like motivated to make it to the games and has that mindset kind of aspect. I haven't really seen a lot of the girls train, but I think Kelsey Keel will make it into that top 8 for sure.
I think it's going to be fun because if you look at that, especially the snatch ladder, the squat snatch ladder, it's a 5th event. And what you're going to do is you're going to have a lot of these women
Tired.
well, not tired. You're going to have. I'm just looking forward to Danny Spiegel and Kelsey Keel in the same heat.
Yeah.
Pressure on. You know, you have this is like the ultimate like pressure situation for those type of athletes. You know, and having those two go head to head because I think in especially in this field, they're probably the the strongest women out here, and probably the two women that you think of when it comes to heavy snatches. It's going to be a fun. I mean, just tune in that day. That should be a fun, and whoever comes out on top with that will have the edge going into that final workout.
And Danny Spiegel, she's trying to make it back after missing last year, so she sort of has a chip on her shoulder too to get back into the games field.
Yeah, and Brian has her taking that final spot right now, and I just like last year when it came down to poor Kelly Baker just tripping on that last sandbag, but still making it in, and then it came down to points, just like literally like single digit points. I think it's gonna be the same this year.
I'm a little sad to see Rebecca Fuselier down so low here.
Well, Nick, maybe you could talk about based on what you know about Rebecca and based on the programming. Do you think 15th is a spot that? Do you think that's too low or too high?
I don't know so much about Rebecca's training, just like, but I'd say it's a little bit low, given that there is a workout that has a good amount of ring muscle ups in there. There's a workout that, I mean, the legless rope climb box jump over one. Granted, the smaller athletes are going to get beat up on the machines, right? Like the echo bikes and stuff. Since you're rowing for meters, it's not going to be much of a difference with the meters on the row. So she has a leg up on the gymnastics with the handstands and all that. I think she's too low. I think she'll go up a little bit, but I don't know about qualifying. I think the snatch ladder is the one that's like, if you're going to have a bad event, and like with a field of 40, if you have a really bad event, that can really set you back.
She's working on being Big Becca now.
On what? What was that?
She is working on being Big Becca, I think it's the term that she uses. Yeah.
Yeah, and like I said, I don't know her training. I don't know how heavy she is. I don't know.
She's not a big athlete. She's
not the biggest. No.
Well,
for sure.
What Sarah
But
says,
the bigger athletes are going to get punished with the legless rope climbs. They're going to get punished with the ring muscle ups.
Yep.
They're going to be a little bit slower through the run. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, that first workout with the 800 meter runs, you can take a bad placing in that if you're not a good runner.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you about this. I mean, it was actually announced that the runs will be roughly 800 meters, but they will be outside. I mean, when you hear something like that versus an air runner, I mean, you personally, what are your thoughts on that? Like, do you prefer an air runner over running outside, an 800 meter track, or,
It's definitely different. It's definitely different. I feel like the running outside would be harder.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it'd be just a little bit harder, a little bit grindier. I mean, more propelling of your body versus using the momentum from. Because if you're heavier too, you're going to get a bigger pull on the assault runner as well. Outside, you don't get to pull the earth around. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah.
It'll be more interesting to watch. Would it be easier to compete, being able to see where everyone is? If you're running outside, you can see where people are. On the assault runner, you don't have as good of an idea of where people are on the runner.
Yeah, I think you can make more. I think there can be more changes made outside in leadership, in leading it. I think if everybody's on the runner, everybody's going to look at their pace and they're going to be within, kind of like rowing on like the rowing meters. Everybody's going to be within 5 seconds of each other ish. You know what I mean? In terms of running, it would be like groups of people that are within 5 seconds of each other. But outside, it's a different ballgame, I think, for sure. The lead will switch, transition in and out. You know what I mean? Is going to matter. Yeah, I think running outside will shake it up a bit more than runners.
You saw that last year when they had the running event that came in and out of the Coliseum, that there were a lot of changes. But it'll be interesting. I didn't think about this till it was brought up. I forgot who brought it. It might have been on the Barbell Spin podcast, but you're actually going to see a definitive race towards the end. Hopefully you have those sprint to the finishes, and so the run does matter. As opposed to kind of looking side to side or trying to peek over at someone's monitor. But,
it'll be more exciting to watch for sure.
I think so.
Well, unfortunately, we won't be able to watch it because
that's true.
If you're there, or
if you're there, yes.
Maybe we got some streams last year that we didn't expect to get. I'm
Yeah.
gonna hold out some hope. I don't know.
Yeah, let's
Amanda,
not record some exciting race to the finishes. That's fine.
Yeah,
And the first workout, that's what's
in Carson.
in
yeah,
Carson.
what's even happening? Does it even matter?
Yeah. Do any of you plan on attending this event in Carson?
I hope to be down in Carson. I don't think I'll be there Friday.
Oh, okay. Nick,
So
I won't be there. No.
staying away. I don't believe it.
We're going. Yeah, we got a family vacation planned instead.
That's good. That's good. All right, so that's pretty much out of the West. So you guys think that Ariel Owen, and I agree with you. The mom from the Texas mom is going to probably win this. Brian has Alex Kazan on the men's side. I think pretty much we kind of agreed on Patrick Vellner.
Yep.
So Brian got that right.
And then Brent.
And Brent. Yeah, moving
After
Brent.
that.
First and second.
We've got Brent in second. We're changing Brian's rankings.
Yeah. And then I'd get the other event going on that weekend. We have two going on that weekend, which I think is just criminal. I think the semifinal should be 4 weeks, or because it's just Oceania, as good as a region it is. I mean, it's not as strong as it's been in the past. It's kind of a shame because they're not getting, they're not getting as much attention as they normally would if they had their own standalone weekend. But in any case, especially as crazy as I have yet to make it to Torium Pro, but everything I've seen, talked to the Buttery Bros who were able to witness it for the first time, they said it's unreal. They sell out that Pat Rafter arena. They have fireworks, flames, everything. It's a spectacle. It's everything that maybe semifinals should be. But Torium Pro.
Are they streaming the first event?
Pardon?
Are they streaming the first event? I think they are.
No.
No?
Yes. So it's only the three major ones they consider major. So the North America and Europe that will not be streaming the first event. These other the other semifinals will be streaming their events.
There we go. We'll be able to watch the first event at Torium.
Jeez.
Yeah. You'll just have to be up at like 2 or 3 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah.
You can watch it after.
Yeah, I'll catch the repeat.
Yeah.
Sure. But I mean, okay, looking at Torium, bro. I mean, especially at first event. I mean, that's a workout tailor made for someone like Ricky Garrard. So Ricky has yet to beat Jay in a semifinal. Now, granted, they've only competed once, but Jay has won semifinals, I believe, every year. So Jay
looks so good right now. Jay, he looked really good in the Open. Looks really good working out over at Proven. I think he's back in Australia now, but he's looked pretty good.
Nick, have you been able to head down? Were you able to go down there whenever Jay was there to work out with him, or what do you know about Jay?
Yeah, we were just down there a couple months ago. Jay's fit. Obviously proved that at the games this last year too. He's a great runner too, so that first event is going to shape up pretty nice for him. I think it's a 185 barbell isn't so heavy that it's going to really pummel any of the guys. It's not really going to be much of an issue. I do think Ricky will take it though. I would definitely vote that. But then I also want to say, don't sleep on Will Kearney down there.
Oh yeah, Will barely. I mean, he just missed it a couple of years. A lot of people don't know.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
A lot of people don't know Will, but Will is not only is he a coach for Proven, but he's also a very young athlete. I mean, he's a young coach and young athlete, and I agree. Will is. I think should be. He'll be competing right now. They're predicting 4 spots for Oceania men, which is normally they get 3. So I definitely, if that's the case, I definitely see Will being in a hunt for that.
Yeah, I think Will. I believe it was last year he took 4th.
Yes.
And he only missed it because Douglas won the snatch by an absurd amount. Like he snatched like 320 or something like that.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So without that event in there, without a pure strength event, I think Will Kearney will get his way in.
Yeah. So Nick likes Will.
Go Will.
Yeah. Amanda, you see anything with this? I mean, what do you prefer, Ricky or Jay?
I think I do agree it's going to be Ricky. I think Ricky's sort of on a comeback. He's sort of been on a comeback for a long time, it feels like.
6 years.
He's still coming back after he had the doping thing, and then we have the injury thing. So I feel like Ricky still has more to prove. So I put my money on Ricky. Jay and Bailey, I like those two rounding out the top three. So I actually like Brian's picks here.
Yeah. And if it does, they do get 4 spots, it's going to be very interesting because, again, you'll have that race. You'll have basically almost 2 races where you'll have Ricky and Jay, I think, will be fighting for that 1, 2. Bailey will be very comfortable in that 3rd spot. But I think that 4th spot, you'll have these Luke, you'll have Will, Zach Thomas, Peter Ellis, Luke DeYoung all competing for that final spot. So
Yep.
it'll make for some compelling, again, a compelling show with Florian. On the women's side, gone are the names like Tia and Ellie Turner not competing this year.
Cara.
So yeah, yep, and Cara is not competing on a team. So what you have here is you're having some, I guess, games veterans or athletes who haven't been at the games for a while, and Caitlin Van Zyl, Madeline Sturt. I think they both met. Caitlin was in 2019. Maddie Sturt last competed in 2018, and then a rookie in Gracie Walton. So again, yeah, we'll be crowning a new women's champion in Torian.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what Madeline Sturt can do. She's also, I don't know if she's with Proven or not. She's worked, is she? Okay.
Yeah.
She works out with Proven a lot.
Yeah. Well, I guess she works out with them. I guess.
But she is, yeah, according to Proven, she
Valid
is.
point.
According to Proven, what? She is?
According to Proven, she is, yes. When
Okay.
they released their ad, I think before the Open, they released like what Proven, like elite athletes, and she was listed amongst them.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what Madeline Sturt can do. She's been in the field for so long. She's
And still young.
still so young. She's like in her mid to late 20s, and she's been competing for so long because the first time she made the game, she was probably like 19 or 20.
19.
She was very, very young. So it would be awesome to see her make it back. She also looks really good this year. I believe she won quarterfinals for Australia. So I think this is a good spot for her. I think that she has a great chance of winning the whole thing and finally making it back to the CrossFit Games.
I don't think you'll get any arguments from Nick on that.
No, definitely not. They got the 3 spots.
Yeah.
Well, right now we're predicting the model's predicting 4.
Oh.
So we might have and then you have a list of Georgia Pryor is someone that I've known since she was 19. I met her in China. She was competing as a 19-year-old in a back then a sanctional in China, and it was like her first like international competition. But she's an HWPO athlete, not very strong, but again, we're not testing strength this time around. She does have an engine. She is fairly good at gymnastics. I think she'll do really well. I think she'll do well in that first workout. She's probably maybe the second best runner out of the top 5 athletes here. And then you have someone like Julia Hanford, who did really well at Wodapalooza, especially in that opening event, the strength event. She can cycle a barbell. There's obviously swimming's not being tested, but she actually is very underrated when it comes to machines and her engine.
All right.
Well, I think again, I don't think there's any argument here. Ricky and Maddie, I mean, this is pretty cut and dry when it comes to Oceania. The only thing we'll probably see is if they are allocated an extra spot, and is who's fighting for those other spots. So you'll be getting a bunch of new faces coming out of Oceania, which I'm excited for. It's always cool whenever a new person is introduced into the games and to the public. Nick, you kind of went through that your first time around. You took advantage of that. Sporting the crop top and just winning over fans with a couple event wins. Yeah. So it means a lot to make the games, not just to make the games, but to make an impression at the games. And I think Nick, you know that better than anyone else.
Well, for sure.
And then takes us to the final week. We'll go right into it again. Like I said, Brian has most of the teams how he predicts how they finish, and most of the athletes as well. North American East. This is I mean, for both men and women, as top heavy as I believe the West is on the men's side, I think overall the East probably has top to bottom, probably their collection of men athletes is pretty impressive as well. Brian has Jeffrey Adler winning this. He won the East semifinal last year. He's the reigning, defending fittest man on earth. Do we see a scenario where Adler does not win semifinals?
I don't.
Nick
maybe does.
I would definitely lean on Adler winning, but I think that there is people that could still.
Yeah.
I mean, good week. I mean, Dallin is super fit. Roman fit.
Mm-hmm.
Hopper fit. You know what I mean?
Yep.
All of them can crank those machines too. All of them can run. Yeah, I think if Adler wins, it's still going to be close. It's not going to win by a landslide kind of thing.
Yeah, and the 3 machine workouts. I mean, with Roman and like you said, Dallin, Hopper. There's a lot of people who can really
just
move
big
those.
boys.
Yeah, those big boys. They're big.
Yeah, this is the big boy country right here. Again, I mean, I hate to harp on this, but it's a shame that they're not showing that first event because this is an event. I think Adler's probably one of the best, if not the best, when it comes to clean and jerks, especially for time. And then now you put in Adler has this newfound, his engine that he's been working on for the last 3 years. I think that first event is something he might even set the world record. It might be between him and maybe someone like Ricky, but Adler, and it'll be interesting to see him again racing against someone like Roman and Dallin, and even Jason. Jason's a decent runner himself.
Yeah, I don't know if Jeff will be first after day 1. I would doubt that.
Yes.
There's a lot of good people in this field.
We're looking at 11 spots
There's
coming out. Oh, go ahead, Nick.
A lot of this has to do too with like if you don't win the event, like how many people are middling you and the next person. Like any one of these guys, like each one of these guys has one of these it's like their wheelhouse. You know what I mean? That they can come in and just smash. So it is going to be who's the most consistent across the board.
EC, are you going to be at this one?
Of course I will be. I'll be here.
You should live stream it on your Instagram.
Oh yeah, and then never get a media pass ever again.
So we can all see.
Yeah. I'm hoping that they figure something out. I mean, it'd be great if they let us B.Friendly kind of stream that. We have the capabilities of doing that. We would by all means volunteer as tribute to do it. But I doubt that happens. But you can always. Yeah.
They should just stream it. It's their sport.
I agree. So we're predicting 11 spots. So there's going to be, just like last year, there's going to be some familiar names not making an appearance at the games. Brian doesn't really no surprising names here, except for I think the last, Taylor Self, Austin Hatfield, 2 very fit people, 2 people that have kind of, separated themselves, especially through the earlier stages of the season, coming at 9 and 10. Do you guys see a scenario where, those guys don't make it, and then someone like Spencer Panchak, Alexander Caron, you have a litany of Games veterans like Will Morad that we're predicting not finishing.
Will Morad is like Cole Sager,
right? I'm calling it. Will's going to be in.
Yeah,
there we go.
Let's go, Will.
He just sneaks in there. I think Taylor Self being in a qualifying position is interesting. I've definitely watched a lot of his Kill Taylor series.
Yeah.
Seen a lot of him working out. He's pretty fit. I'm definitely interested to watch him at semifinals this year.
Yeah.
Nick, you're against Taylor a couple times. Once at Granite Games, the first year that I missed it, that I took 6th. And then again the following year at Wadapalooza, and I think he smashed Wadapalooza that year.
Yes,
like really well.
Yeah, the swimming workout is what kind of stood out for me. Obviously, he's a really good swimmer, and these workouts look like workouts appear to really favor someone like Taylor Self. The only thing, and I've brought it up before, is he's talked about his knee swelling up or inflammation in his knee, his surgically repaired knee. And he's been games training. He's up to volume. But if something like that would happen, especially running on hard pavement, and then putting that weight overhead, hopefully nothing like that happens. So, and that we see a healthy version of him. Someone like Austin Hatfield, he seems to be the next mayhem athlete. He's a quiet, unassuming guy. He's very similar to someone like Colton Mertens, but I wouldn't be surprised. His fitness has shown, the last couple of years. He just missed out on a spot last year out of the same region, so he's familiar with the competition. He did very well at Craft Crucible, so I'm not surprised by that pick. Unfortunately, I do think there's going to be some familiar names, especially in those last, Panchek, Caron, Will Morad, that might be watching from home, unfortunately.
There's going to be a lot of shuffling within this top 15. There's a
Yeah.
lot of people can end up a lot of different places. I think it's hard to predict who's going to be in the top 10
Mhm.
at the end of the weekend in this group.
Yeah, I think the top 5 will be shuffled, but really close, and then I think the bottom ones will be very, very close.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's a very small point spread.
Yeah.
Brian has someone like Luke Parker who made the games last year. He made it pretty comfortably last year. I believe eighth, or he wasn't in any threat of not make the games last year, but he has him at 17th. Obviously someone like Tyler Christoffel, who I've known for a while and has followed his journey. Again, he has him coming up short. Austin Spencer, who's made the games. I believe. I mean, it was through Granite Games. I believe you competed against Matt Granite Games that year, right, Nick?
Yeah, we both got in.
Yep.
Late, right? I think.
Yep. Correct. So, but yeah, I think it's just going to be a really good, fun matchup on the men's side. But then on the women's side, I mean, any argument with Tia winning this?
No.
Nope.
Nick, are you just saying that because she's she's the boss, or she's running the show down there in Nashville?
I'm saying it because she's proved it.
There you go.
Wow.
Look at that.
Every stage.
Yeah, there were some questions regarding her wrist, and she showed in quarterfinals that it does not appear the wrist is bothering at all. I mean, if anyone knows her body better than her, I mean, no one knows her body better than she does. And I think Shane and the whole crew there, Nick, they did all the right things, and her wrist looks to be 100%. And I don't see her not winning this event or this.
I also think, especially after Rogue too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Last time she competed live, she finished that. It's the first time she's been beat in 2017 semifinals. So
yeah, and I don't think she'd like that very much.
No.
And we've seen women be very successful post having a baby. We've seen it with Cara. We've seen it with Annie. So I have no doubts that Tia can do it too. And I think Nick has even less doubts.
Yeah, I would say so too. And I think, again, Emma Lawson, it's hard to imagine. She's just a teenager. She graduated high school this year. It's ridiculous how good she is, because if Tia's not around, you're talking Emma Lawson probably runs away with this as well. And and that's saying a lot against a very talented field.
Yeah, and it's interesting because Alexis Raptis, I guess, beat her in semifinals, or in quarterfinals, depending on how you look at it.
Yes.
Worldwide, I believe. Did Alexis Raptis beat her worldwide or beat her?
Emma won worldwide. Alexis won for North America East.
North America East.
It's on the field. We've had this done before in in regional. It's happened before. Whereas I believe as Vellner, Adler was like the fittest, won the Open, but Vellner was the fittest in Canada. It was one of those scenarios. So
yeah, it's about who middles, and it makes sense when you think about it, but it just shows you how close those athletes are and how competitive they are with one another and how competitive this semifinal is going to be.
Again, predicting 11 spots for the women here. So you have athletes like Annika Greer, who we all kind of know her story about, always coming up short, just missing out, getting up. Last year she had a no rep in that final event that made her go back with the sandbag, and it probably cost her her first career games trip. Erica Folo, who is an up and coming athlete, Carolyn Prevost. So he's got basically the Canadians grouped here fighting for that last spot. And then you have Paige Semenza, who could be considered Canadian. She's a hockey player. So, missing out, and she's a veteran. Then Shelby Neal, you go down the list, Ashley Wozni, Caroline Stanley, Caroline Spencer, these are a lot of talented women who, are going to be fighting for those last game spots.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be a battle. There's a lot of women here that can do really well. Someone said Paige Semenza missing the cut is just out of pocket in the comments. There's a lot of people here who have a lot of games experience. It'll be interesting, though, to see some of the people who could make it back, like Haley Adams, Brian has her comfortably within the qualifying positions. I agree with that, but first time we're really seeing her compete in 2 years.
Yeah,
So
big question mark.
yeah, there's a lot of questions there. So, and Brooke Wells,
and
how
and
healthy
Amanda,
is she?
and Amanda Barnhart, who's
And Amanda
kind of
Barnhart, yeah,
Coming off an injury, yeah.
yep.
yeah. So they look good in quarterfinals. So it seems like when a torn labrum is, I guess you
Mhm.
can bounce back from that a lot quicker than most people think you can. It doesn't sound as
Apparently,
serious as this, but yeah, they look good in quarterfinals. It looked like they're rested. They both worked out. They did the quarterfinal workouts together up in Vermont. Um, so
HWPO.
yeah, maybe you might, Nick. Do you know who Jordan Zwick is?
Not sure, no.
Well, she competed at Granite Games, I believe, that first year of semifinals. She's a former teen athlete. She's been kind of on the cusp and kind of like riding that line. Very similar in terms of like maybe she's one of those athletes who I wouldn't be surprised because it seems like every year, especially out of this region, there's an athlete that is kind of that kind of just comes out of nowhere and makes it to the games. It looks like Brian, and I don't know if I necessarily agree with him, but yeah, I guess he's picking her as the athlete to kind of break through this year. Where last year you had someone like Shelby Neal and Caroline Stanley who played those roles. Um, so
Yeah, I definitely think out of these the men and the women's here, there could be there's a very high chance that somebody does pop through rookie year and they make it, just because with how much shuffling there can be around with all the other events, like all it takes is one bad event for you to just get bumped down the leaderboard and one other person be bumped in.
Yep.
Or vice versa, if you have one really good event that gets you a lot of points, like that gets you up into a comfortable spot, then I mean, hanging on for the rest of the weekend is hanging on for the weekend is, I think, easier than trying to jump up in the weekend. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I definitely agree.
Unless you're Will Morad and Cole Sager.
Yes.
Yes, exactly.
They can go to that real dark place and just finish exactly where they need to.
I think Paige Demenza kind of falls in that.
Yeah, Paige definitely too. Yep.
She's one of, I think on the female side, she's one of those athletes who's just kind of built that way as well. And I think that's because of that hockey background, And same with Carolyn Prevost, who also is a professional hockey player as well. I wouldn't put anything past her. But Erica Folo, she's someone that has kind of been trending as well. We had her on our show on Monday along with Nina Rogovic, but she had a really good. I mean, she's a former teen athlete, competed at the games as a teen. Last year, competed on a team, and she and Devin are both looking to become the first athletes ever to make that progression, making the games as a teenager, a team, and then finally as an individual. So, she's 23 years old, has a lot of experience, did really well, finished fourth in the North American East quarterfinal. You know, that's ahead of athletes like Brooke Wells, Amanda Barnhart, Haley Adams. So very impressive. So keep an eye out on her. I think she's someone to watch, along with Jordan Zwick as well as also Ashley Wozni. But I would agree that for most of on the women's side, Brian has got it right. Maybe some questionable ones towards the end, but again, it's going to be a crapshoot just like on the men's side. Copa Sur, South America, Brian. I mean, again, we're projecting they're probably going to get an extra spot. Normally, they have two. If that's the case, then someone like Guy should make it comfortably in. Again, we saw Guy last year failed to make it because of one bad event. Looking at the programming, it looks like that might happen again. Nick, you've competed against Guy. You know what type of athlete you never gone battle to battle. I mean, I can't. That race you guys had, where did you guys basically tie? Had a virtual
sandbag?
Tie?
Yeah.
Sandbag. I mean,
yep.
What can you tell us about Guy in terms of? I mean, do you think that he finishes third, or does he win this?
I'm not sure that he wins it. I mean, he's a full powerhouse athlete from the sandbag events to, the hat trick workout at the games where he it was just a straight sprint through. I know that last year he didn't make it, and I remember competing against him at Wodapalooza, and he didn't have really any standout performance at Wodapalooza, whereas this year it was vice versa. He had a standout performance at Wodapalooza. He did really well. So in a sense, maybe thinking he's back. I don't think he's going to win, but I think he'll go to the games again.
Yeah. I think he'll have a standout performance on that snatch ladder. I think he may have the best time out of.
Yeah,
I
think in the world.
Yeah, hot take. Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
I agree though.
Yeah, he could have the time. Like, he could be racing to set the time for the world if he wants. Yeah. Like, I don't think he's going to be racing to win that here. I think he'll do that in this field easily. I think it'll be a matter of, will he want to set a world record time that and he'll know people's scores. It's week 3. He'll be able to do that if he wants to show off and do that, but he doesn't need to. It's really just about doing enough to win here or get into the top 2 or 3 positions here. I hope he makes it. I think it'd be nice to see Guy back, but if it's only 2 positions, I'm not sure if he will.
It's a shame that we don't have Anthony Davis Atola, competing this year in that snatch ladder workout, because, that would have been fun to see those guys put up numbers and Guy chase those numbers.
Maybe Tola should just do it for fun.
He did it for fun. He did it at West Coast Class a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And,
he has a world record, right?
Yeah, he did. He currently has a world record.
Yeah, but he should do it again.
Yeah. He tried to touch and go that last barbell, and then he missed that final one, but still set the record. I was there in person. It was beautiful. It was amazing. I mean, so Kalen Souza, I actually like him. I've seen a lot of him this offseason. He's one of those guys. He lives in the Middle East, but he's been doing a lot of competitions. And Keiki Cerveni, he's another guy. I mean, these guys are doing it right. They made the games. They're not just resting on the laurels. They're like, hey, we need to get more experience. So they've been doing all these high-level competitions. But they're bigger guys, but these are bigger guys who can move very well. And I think the programming really favors them. And I think Brian agrees as well.
Didn't Raquelme make it last year?
He did not. Raquelme came up short last year. It was 2 years ago where he got the backfill and found out the week of.
Gotcha. Okay.
He usually does very well in these formats, but I think, and I kind of agree with Brian on this. The programming probably doesn't favor him as much as it does some of these other guys. But I wouldn't be surprised, especially if they have 3 spots at Raquelme. I mean, I know he has them at 8, which I think is too low. I actually think he's probably going to be fighting for that last spot with Guy. So you just don't know. On the women's side, a lot of unknowns, but we do have some knowns. Victoria Campos, who's won this, I believe, multiple times. At least she did last year. Mayhem athlete, trains out at Cookeville full time. Right now she seems to be the class there. But I wouldn't be surprised if someone surprises out of this region, because there's so many unknowns here.
Julia Cato, she's made it before, so she has the experience. So there's some names here that could make it into that second position, but I agree that Victoria Campos is probably at the top on her own.
Agreed.
Yeah, and we're predicting 3. And right now, we're predicting 3 spots out of South America. Based on the metrics. So if that's the case, again, we're going to probably see 1 or 2 women out of South America punching their rookie ticket. So, but yeah, I mean, Nick, Proven is known to have quite a few. I mean, one of your coaches there at Proven is from the South America region. Proven obviously is a worldwide brand, especially in Oceania, the U.S., and in South America. Are there any athletes in South America that you know of that Proven that could probably stand out? I mean, obviously,
not specifically, no.
Okay.
No.
Yeah, I mean, I always think about Oscar, but then I'm like, Oscar's North America, not South America. So
Oscar
Mora.
Oh, Luis.
Yeah,
Luis, yeah. Except for the penalties, these step overs.
Yeah. So again, Brian ranks 20 out of the men and just 10 of the women, because there's so many unknowns there. And then we finish up with Africa. No change there. We're predicting 1 spot. Gone are some of the names that we're used to seeing. Jason Smith, who's currently serving a 4-year suspension, and then Michelle Basnet, who's stepping away for this year from competing. But right now, I don't know. I mean, I have a little bit of knowledge on Ruan Duvenage, but I really like Keelan Henry out of this. I've seen this guy compete. He actually lives in France, trains with Guillaume Brion, and he's won this 2 years ago.
Yeah, when there's
2 years
only
ago,
one
he's at the
spot,
games.
you really have to hit all your marks, you know? This is something easily someone can lose. It's going to be interesting.
Nick, you were saying?
Yeah, I was just agreeing that he was there 2 years ago, and I think
Yeah.
he tore his hamstring or something and had to pull
Yeah.
out.
Yep.
Mhm.
Or something of that nature. Yeah,
Right.
I think with these regions, it's close all around.
Mhm.
Like everybody's really close to the same. It's like the mindset's going to be the separator, and then just making sure that you run through a good weekend, a clean weekend.
Yep.
And I would say that on the women's side. On the women's side, he's kind of taken an unknown name, at least to us.
Yep.
If you look at it, Gemma Rader, Regan Finkel, they're probably Brady Finkel. Those are some of the more well-known names out of this area. And Christina Lividakis.
Yeah.
She actually lives in Australia, trains out of there. She's really, very active in the CrossFit scene and competitions there in that Oceania region. She's someone that's finished on the podium multiple years here at the Renegade Games. He has her finishing second. I actually think that she's probably going to win this and punch her ticket finally. But he has Gamar Reneke, who has been a top 5 finisher the last couple of years, finally breaking through. So, and that pretty much wraps it up. Overall thoughts, Nick. Obviously disappointing season for you. So what's next for you? What do you got planned next besides family vacation?
Well, we got family vacation coming up. I'm going to take my L2 next weekend.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Got one from the games as just a free one from the games. So figured I might as well do that. Otherwise it'll expire and I wouldn't have been able to do it.
Yep.
We're actually opening a new location or opening a new gym here at our affiliate, jumping into a massive facility. We've just kind of outgrown the space that we're at now. And so I'll be working on that all summer.
What's the name of your affiliate?
CrossFit Minnetonka.
Yep.
And it's going to be like 4 times the size that we got now.
Wow.
Yeah, it's going to be a project for sure. We got a good team of people doing that. So just getting that all squared away. There's a strongman meet that I might do here coming up pretty soon. A bunch of members at the gym want to do it as well. So I told them I'd hop in and go maybe a high rocks, maybe an Olympic lifting meet, and then basically just get ready for Rogue.
Okay.
We will be in Scotland.
There's no CrossFit competitions between now and Rogue that you're thinking about doing?
There's some up here, but they're not competitions I should compete in.
Gotcha.
They're for my members. I'll be the spectator. I'll be the cheerleader. I'll get back there and help them warm up and coach and all that good fun stuff. I get to give back to them a little bit now this season, which is okay. I'm happy with that. I'm happy to do that part. And then, at the same time, I'm still grinding. I'm still training. CrossFit just gave me a head start on next year. So
there you go.
Yeah.
Watch out.
Quite drastic change from this year to next year. So
apparently.
And you seem confident you're going to Rogue.
We're going to Rogue. Yeah. Yeah.
Are you Scottish?
No more fun and games. I'm mad now.
Mad Nick Mathew. I don't want
that.
Does that mean the crop top's even shorter, or does it get longer when you're mad?
Much shorter.
Much shorter.
Just becomes
the
just.
nipples are going to show. It's just like it's just a neck thing.
Yeah. Boob tube.
The bib.
Yeah. Just a bib.
Yeah.
Amanda, what's next for you?
Next for me, I hope to be down in person.
Before we start, Amanda, where can people watch you?
Yes. Well, my dog is Carson being noisy, but they can watch me on YouTube. Here on YouTube, just search my name, Amanda Harry, and you should be able to find it. Amanda Harry CrossFit, something like that. I'm sure you'll find it. At Amanda Harry on Instagram. I have some stuff on there if you want to check that out. So those are the places you can find me. Hope to be down in Carson in a few weeks covering that. My dog's name is also Carson. He's named after Carson, where the games used to be, actually. And then I hope to be over at the games down in Texas. So those are my next big things.
Well, cool. Well, I appreciate you guys both taking time out of your day to join me and basically tell Brian that he doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. But no, I think he, for the most part, I think we'll see. We'll go.
Okay. He did okay.
Yeah, Well, next week and every week prior, during that week, we'll go actually through those picks in a little bit more detail with Brian and maybe pick his head. Obviously, he's in Athens right now. he live streaming the Athens Throwdown, which if you guys want to follow the Athens Throwdown, they have a bunch of potential games athletes. Again, Frayova's competing, and trying to think, Georgios Caveros is competing on the men's side, and watch those. You're going to be able to see some of these up and coming European athletes. If you pay attention to Athens Throwdown, it's a competition that's been around for 10 years. So, and a huge prize purse. Again, a huge prize purse. So, again, thanks again. Appreciate everyone in the chat. Thanks for sending us your comments and supporting us as always. Shout out to HCR CBD as always for supporting us. Use friend20 for 20% off your CBD products. Do any of you guys use CBD for recovery?
I do not.
Do not? Because Nick doesn't need recovery.
Is that a shot at me because I didn't qualify for anything this year?
No, I did not know. He's so defensive.
I feel like I don't hurt enough to get stuff.
Okay. Well,
they yell at me all the time because I don't get body work and stuff like that done either. But.
Yeah. Do you do ice baths or sauna?
Sauna, yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, that's cool.
Nothing too crazy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's good. If you can stay healthy and not need that stuff, then that says a lot. So
for sure, haven't had any injuries. So
yeah. Amanda, CBD for you?
I haven't really used much CBD, so maybe I'll have to use Brian's code.
Yeah. Well, they do have some, and I don't know if Carson does this, but my dogs, they have a lot of anxiety, especially when I leave. They do have dog friendly stuff that helps with some of that stuff. So yeah. I use it for my dogs because obviously I'm on the road a lot. So, but yeah. Friend 20% off HCR CBD products. Again, thanks to Carl and the guys out there. We appreciate it. Can't wait to see them. Hopefully they're going to be up in Carson. We'll be able to hang out with those. But again, appreciate everyone to support. Appreciate Nick for coming out. Amanda, as always, it's great to have you on. And be friendly.